What is your reaction?
Joy, Shannon, I'll admit, until last night, pretty late last night here on the West Coast, I had never heard of Kia Wright Roberts. Fair to say? Mm-hmm. Now she has gone down in NFL history and Dallas Cowboy history as the woman who had the guts to blow the whistle on her boss, Roger Goodell, and expose his corruption in the weak, small-minded, wrong-headed, shameful way he runs the greatest league in the world. Mm-hmm. I don't know how Roger Goodell still has a job, but we'll discuss how he keeps his job in just a moment. But this morning, first of all, I want to applaud Kia Roberts for having the courage that she had. Mm-hmm. As Joy points out, she is the NFL's Director of Investigations, or at least she was the NFL's Director of Investigations, because I don't know, but I'm going to have a hard time believing she's going to be able to keep that job. Mm-hmm. She risked that job because she wanted to do the right thing, which is to tell the truth. So she testified. I think she made a point of wanting to testify at Ezekiel Elliott's appeals hearing that she was the only one to interview Zeke's accuser, and that she recommended no punishment for Zeke, and that Lisa Friel, who is Roger Goodell's chief advisor on domestic violence, excluded Kia Roberts from the meeting in which Goodell declared and decided 6-game suspension. What? Wait a minute. That's the first I'd heard. So Lisa Friel didn't interview the accuser?
Nope.
We knew already Roger Goodell didn't interview the accuser.
Nope.
And they ignored the conclusion of the one woman who did interview her, who is extremely, extremely qualified to come to a conclusion. Because let's look at, quickly, Kia Wright Roberts' background. She went to De La Salle High School in New Orleans, and then she went to Duke undergraduate. That'll work. Mm-hmm. Then she graduated from Vanderbilt Law School. That'll really work. Way to go, Vanderbilt. Then she served for 8 years as the assistant district attorney in Brooklyn. Brooklyn can get pretty rough. Mm-hmm. It's a little bougie in some parts now, but it's still got some really rough parts.
Yep.
And the cases she handled, hundreds of cases, involved domestic violence, sexual assault, attempted murder, weapons possession, narcotics, gang-related crimes. She's pretty much seen it all, I would say, wouldn't you think?
Very well qualified.
Yeah, who better to judge the credibility of a domestic violence accuser than Kia Roberts? So she came to the same conclusion that the investigators in Columbus, Ohio, and Fort Lauderdale came to, with testimony is not consistent enough to be credible. Interesting. So they said no charges in Columbus or Fort Lauderdale, and she said no suspension, but obviously Roger Goodell had already decided, with or without credible evidence, he was going to come down hard on and make an example of Ezekiel Elliott on domestic violence. I think Tom Brady can somehow relate to all of the above, because we just went through a similar case, obviously not involving domestic violence, with Deflategate. But this time, the NFLPA lawyers had the good sense, they learned their lesson a year and a half ago. They beat the NFL lawyers to the punch to file a lawsuit in their jurisdiction, which is the state of Texas, near Dallas and around Frisco, which is where Cowboys operate from. And in that lawsuit, they allege that there is a league-orchestrated conspiracy to hide evidence, which would completely exonerate Ezekiel Elliott. Man, that's a strong charge. A league-orchestrated conspiracy. That would go to the very top. That would expose Roger Goodell. And I think he just got busted. I think he got exposed for all the things I don't like about him. And today, up front, and we're going to go layer upon layer about this, but I want to congratulate Kia Wright Roberts for having the guts.
Skip, I agree with everything you said. I understand the league is trying to clean up what happened in 2014. That shield took a huge dent. And a lot of times, Skip, you know, when you're driving your car and you might veer off to the left or right, sometimes you overcorrect. And that's where the problem lies. And this is what happened with the NFL. And I told him, Skip, I get it. The optics, that's the word that was coming to our lexicon over the last couple of years. Optics. They want to show the viewing public, the NFL fans, that we're serious about domestic violence. They want to take on in America that we're at the forefront, that this is not tolerated in our league. But Skip, I said, this is not the case that you want to sink your teeth in. This is not the case that you want to show the public that we're serious about, because there were too many inconsistencies. And you see, Skip, what happened is that this is where you and I differ. See, the commissioner after 2014, he said, I'm going to hire the NFL. We're going to hire people that's more qualified to deal with domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, because that's not what, as an entertainment, we're not qualified to handle that. So he put the people in place. Okay, boom. So what he did, and what my sources are telling me, is that they believe this is why the commissioner didn't hear testimony from either. Because guess who did? Kia Wright Roberts. Lisa Friel is her immediate boss.
That's correct.
So now,
And Lisa Friel was hired about a year before Kia Roberts was.
correct.
Yep.
Now the commissioner appointed her. Lisa Friel is Kia's boss. Now I'm told that although it was in the report she wrote up, I don't think there's nothing, because I've seen too many of these cases, I don't think there's anything here. Lisa Friel also said she couldn't sign up on the credibility of the witness.
That was reported in the Fort Worth Star Telegram, but I don't know that for a fact, because she wouldn't even allow Kia Roberts to come to the final meeting.
But Lisa Friel wouldn't, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
Now, she wouldn't, because she based her testimony, because she didn't interview the witness, Tiffany. Excuse me, I guess I'm not supposed to mention her name, but the victim. So alleged victim. Now, from what I'm told, Skip, is that the notes that Kia wrote, Lisa Friel said, well, Commissioner, there's nothing there. But in turn, she still recommended the 6 games. Because guess why, Skip?
Help me out.
Lisa Friel is going to fall on this sword. The commissioner is going to say, I turned it over to them. They recommended 6 games.
Okay.
The appeal process, I turned that over to Harold Henderson. He either stayed it or he reduced it. I got a buffer between everybody. Lisa Friel, Harold Henderson. You see, because last time with the Deflategate, Skip, he got an opportunity to hear Tom Brady. You see what he did there? He's like, I'm not making that mistake again. I'm going to pass the buck. I'm going to let somebody else fall on this sword because I want no part of it. That's why Jerry Jones was so adamant. There's nothing, Skip. He didn't say, well, hey, he said there was nothing here, and he said it last year. He would be very, very upset, and he might have to have a call with the commissioner if Ezekiel Elliott was suspended. Skip, what happened was, I don't think they thought this was going to get this far. I thought they thought Zeke was going to take his punishment for the simple fact what happened on St. Patrick's Day and all these other instances. They was like, well, he'll just take his punishment and he'll go away. Zeke will be the first to tell you, I've done some things that I'm not proud of, but I didn't do that. And that's the one, Skip, all this other stuff, if you were to suspend him for some of the things that you know he did.
I do. You got me.
Zeke and his representative, I do not believe would have had a problem.
Okay.
This is really the only thing that they were going to fight. And they said it from day one. Anything more than 0, we're going to court. And I'm not talking about this NFL court. Skip, there can never be trust between. This is what I believe, Skip. In order for the NFL to move forward, Skip, I'm not so sure how D. Smith, the NFLPA president, and Commissioner Goodell can ever do business again because they believe they railroaded Tom Brady. They are trying to railroad Zeke, and it's coming out. Because remember, a couple of years ago, the NFLPA found that the NFL owed them $50 million. The NFL said, yeah, we do, but we're not going to give it to you. Take us to court. In 2011, the NFL locked the players out. Also, they signed an extension of TV contracts without telling the PA. Skip, there's no trust between these two. Skip, if I don't trust you, you don't trust me, how do we move forward? Commissioner you had a perfect opportunity. You can't do the right thing for the wrong reasons. And he was trying to do
true.
right.
That's well said. That sums it up.
That's it, Skip. I don't know why. Go to the tape and look at some of those. You can't do that. You can't assault a woman in public, nor in private. But we saw this. We're going to give you 3 games. Move on.
Yep.
No harm, no harm done. But there's nobody's going to cry. Skip, there's going to be no uproar. Zeke, we saw it. Everybody saw what you did. Zeke's going to probably bow his head, take his punishment. He says, but I'm not going to let you hang those initials on me. I'm not going to let you put DV on my resume because I didn't do it. I've done some things I'm not proud of, but I didn't do this thing. And because you didn't punish me for the things I did do, I'm not going to allow you to punish me for what I didn't do. And this is where we are currently.
Have you changed any of your views after last night?
No, it was kind of trending towards this direction yesterday.
Yep.
I had a feeling that this was the shoe that was going to drop. For me, the trust is broken. You mentioned the trust between the players and the NFL. The trust between the media and the public and the players in the NFL, to me, is broken now. When you put a punishment out like this, we're supposed to assume that you did your due diligence, you have the right people in place, you put together this board to make a decision, and it's looking like they botched it, which was my worst fear. Because now, moving forward, when someone is legitimate, why should we believe them? You messed it up before, so this discredits victims moving forward. Unless you
does.
have a gang of witnesses and a smoking gun, a video or pictures or an arrest, why are we to believe that it happened? And that's what the NFL didn't understand going into it, that messing up this investigation, that is the repercussions of it. The only thing worse than domestic violence or abuse is being accused of it when you haven't done it.
And Skip, what the thing is that they could always hide behind Article 46. Well, you gave me this power. I can dole out the punishment how I deem necessary.
Now,
Well, they could
I'm
hide-
assuming he's still going to try to hide behind it.
They
but go
could
ahead.
hide behind it as long as they didn't say it was domestic violence.
Right.
If they said it was conduct detrimental, suspend him for 8 games and then have him appeal it down to 2 or whatever it is that you need to do. But as soon as you put it on something that didn't happen, now all the credibility is gone. There's no more credibility. The credibility was damaged coming out of Tom Brady. I mean, what's left? This is much more serious than Deflategate.
Skip, think about this. Kia Roberts is the only investigator that interviewed the alleged victim. I heard it was about 6 occasions. She's the only one. Now, you tell me a situation where the investigator would not be called to testify. That's everything. She did it, Skip. She's the only one. And I told you, I said, why wouldn't the commissioner want to interview Tiffany Thompson, the alleged victim? Why would he not want to ask her questions? Why would he not want to look in her eyes, see her body language? Because that's what Kia Roberts did. Because that was her expertise. So she could ask questions. I'm not liking what I'm seeing here. Why would you not? Commissioner should have demanded, I need to see the investigator that talked to one Miss Thompson. That's who I need to talk to. Why are you talking to Lisa Friel, her boss, when her boss did not interview the alleged victim? That makes no sense to me, Skip. So that in and of itself should tell you something. We don't really want to know the truth. We got a set of facts that we're going to go with. And hey, view in public, buy in public, who comes to these games and buy our sport and support our sport, trust us, believe it. Skip, this makes no sense. The one person that talked to the alleged victim, that asked the questions, that saw her body language, and she's not forthcoming, inconsistency, the credibility. The one person Commissioner, you don't ask her? You ask her boss, who didn't interview, that's basically going over her notes?
You know what the political phrase is? It's called plausible deniability, right? So you can say, don't look at me. I don't know. I just sort of went with, oh, wait, you didn't go with what your lead investigator said, concluded. No suspension. So clearly you had an agenda from the start. You wanted to make an example out of the breakout rookie star from last season on America's team over domestic violence.
Yes.
You came down too soft on Ray Rice, and you could argue Josh Brown. Certainly, I don't even know if he even knew what was going on with Josh Brown. But now you're going to come down absurdly hard without convincing, credible evidence. You're going to railroad. You're going to frame Ezekiel for domestic violence. So now we have the flip side of the old Al Capone cliche, which was they couldn't get him for all those murders he ordered, so they got him for tax evasion. But in this case, tax evasion is domestic violence, right?
Yes.
So you're saying, let's bust Zeke for domestic violence? Well, you can't. It's not tax evasion.
No.
You didn't get him on a technicality. You got him on, arguably, short of murder, the biggest thing you could charge somebody with, right?
Yeah.